So walk me through what this means for investors. Obviously, they're closely watching whether or not we're going to see a continuation of some of Erdogan's more unorthodox economic policies, like his intervention in the central bank. What's your view?
Let me give you some of the things coming out of the gossip mill in Ankara, but sometimes they turn out to be right. Former Minister of the Economy, Mehmet Şimşek, who was one of Erdogan's princes in the 2000s and 2010s, is rumored to return as Minister of Economy. He's now working in the finance sector in London and Dubai. And it is alleged that he will return on account of having some autonomy, some independence, and especially that Mr. Erdogan's insistence on a lowering interest rate in order to prime the economy will be slowed down, that inflation will be curbed down first by raising interest rates. And once the lira is stable, then economic growth can be prioritized, job creation can be prioritized. So that's the rumor mill. My assessment is we have to see. I've said many times that I've ascribed irrational motives to Mr. Erdogan in the past and have sometimes failed. And so, but he's a good politician, as I said. He knows where his interests lie. I would not be surprised if he were to bring back someone like Mr. Şimşek and then redirect the Turkish economy in a better way.
Okay, so some face saving perhaps if he reshuffles the decks when it comes to the economy minister there. But what about on the outlook for foreign policy as well? Investors also working to determine whether or not we're going to see a change within NATO or a change in some of Turkey's positions, like what's going to happen next with the future of the war in Ukraine.
To be honest with you, I would have expected some change, not radical changes, even if Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu had won. But now that Mr. Erdogan has stayed in power, I don't expect any radical shifts unless something in those foreign policy briefs, something drastically changes in the Ukraine. This rumored Ukrainian counteroffensive produces some positive results for the Ukrainians, or they fail, and then that would affect, obviously, Erdogan's policy choices. But I don't expect from the Turkish side any radical shifts unless the external input changes.
What about when it comes to Kılıçdaroğlu's future as well? Lots of questions now about what this means for the anti-Erdogan coalition that he was able to pull together and his own political future.
That's the million lira question. I think eventually he will be convinced to step down. It's been 13 years, and he's had some highlights. His detractors, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's detractors, say that he's lost every election he's challenged. That's not true. He was able to visit a defeat upon Mr. Erdogan in June 2015 parliamentary elections. The local elections, the opposition's local election success of 2019, he was the chief architect of that. So the man has had many important successes. But for losing this, and while for the first time he directly challenged Erdogan, and for him to then lose, I think he will have to step down. And that is my expectation. Now the question is, of course, the local elections are in 10 months. Is he going to try to be a custodian of that process by staying as CHP chairman? Or is he going to just quickly turn it over to one of his subordinates? The two likely candidates are the mayors of Istanbul and Ankara, and try to make sure that they stay in power.